What is going on, everybody? It is Thursday. Chad took a big bite of something before the thing, so you are seeing him masticate his food like a wild animal. That's how we do it here. There is no hold bars when it comes to Thursday, baby. Everything is open. That's how we do it. Hope everyone is having a great day. Before I do the intro, I just want to thank everyone out there. I know this has been a somewhat tense time, a lot of ambiguity, and everyone has been doing such a great job, you know, not tagging the developers like crazy in Dev Discord or freaking out or worrying. Everyone's been doing really good holding down the ship, and the devs have actually been doing really good communication. We're going to keep that flow going, guys. So I just want to thank you from my heart to yours, because I usually get blown up during these times with a million DMs, and I've got some. It hasn't been nowhere as bad as in the past, so thank you so much. Let's get this intro out of the way, you guys. For those who haven't heard, THORChain is the world's leading Bitcoin DEX. You can swap 13 different blockchains across 41 different pools without using bridges or wrap tokens. Check it out at swap.thorchain.org, swap.thorchain.org. Anyone in the world can use THORChain. There's no account to open, no KYC required, and privacy is a human right. There are two tokens on THORChain, that is RUNE and TCY. The fees for swapping on THORChain are paid in RUNE, and that's where the yield comes from. The fees are deducted from swap, so you don't need to own RUNE to trade on THORChain. The RUNE token is currently deflationary as 5% of the fees are burned. 10% of the protocol's fees goes to TCY token holders. Remember to stake the TCY tokens in order to collect this yield. There are no block rewards on THORChain. The protocol's fees are real money paid by real users. THORChain is more than just a DEX. It is a programmable layer 1 with the ability to create smart contracts and dApps. This app layer is being developed by Rayyyk. If you need help with THORChain in general, please join the THORChain community Discord and Telegram group. Links for those are on THORChain.org, THORChain.org. And on THORChain.org, you can also join our email list, you guys. It's the best way to stay updated with THORChain as well, and lots of cool things are coming. Always remember, you guys, this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute financial investment or legal advice. The THORChain community does not endorse or condone illicit activity of any kind. And as a disclaimer as well, just so everyone knows, people are new, that THORChain is paused during this time. We're going to be talking more on that shortly, but I'm going to go ahead and kick it to my main man, Kenton, for an update on his side if he's got one. How you doing, Kenton?
Good, thanks, Denny. I don't have much of an update. I've just been kind of cleaning up loose ends, getting caught up on some things. We just pushed through a new update on the swap interface. So we got a page for pooling and creating a Thor name. And there's definitely some things that need to be fixed on it, changed. And it kind of introduced a new bug with the language tool. So the languages aren't carrying across from page to page. So they're going to fix that. So just be patient with us there, guys. There is an Easter egg there on the swap interface. I'm not going to say anything more. If you're listening to the podcast last week, you'll know what we're talking about, but there's an Easter egg on the swap interface. So we'll see if you guys can find it.
Nice.
And the next thing we're working on there is to have an affiliate page. So this will be password protected. And so right now, the way we're designing it, thinking about it is you can create an account where the person puts in their email, their project name, their website, and say Telegram handle. It'll come to me and Randy. We can approve them, generate their API key, and then they'll get an email with their login and password so they can log in and see their API key. And then on that login, on that dashboard, they'll be able to enter in their Thor name and my name and their address, set their fee and whatnot, and to basically manage their API. And then in that same dashboard will be the widget. So it'll create, once you have your API key, your Thor name, you set your fee, all kind of stuff, it'll generate the code for the widget, which you can then copy and paste into your website and have like a pop-up window trading thing. So the affiliate page hopefully be done in the next week. And then maybe the week after the widget will be done. Or maybe they'll both be kind of done at the same time. type deal in the next 10 days. So basically a week or two, hopefully it'll be done. And I've had a few people, when they request the API, they want some kind of dashboard to be able to track their earnings. So we'll include that, something that they can view, what they're actually earning. But it's been kind of neat because some of these people ask me too, like, how do we get paid out? And I'm like, well, it's automatic. Like, I guess they're used to these other platforms where their payout is gated. Like, that we have to manually approve the payout or send it to them or whatever. They have to request it. I'm like, no, just you get it. Just permissionless. It's once you set it, it goes to your address. It's all good. We don't control any of it. So that's been some welcome surprise from some of these people. So hopefully that'll be done here soon. That affiliate page and the widget, and then after that, we'll work on fixing Kepler and getting all the blockchains supported there in Kepler wallet. The guys can't really do anything until trading resumes, so you can do some proper testing and whatnot. And we have secured assets showing, but how does it work? I think you can go from secured asset to L1, but you can't trade from L1 to secured asset. I think you can only go in one direction right now, and they need to fix it so you can go both directions. But that's what we're working on now with the swap interface. And I've just been doing some like fixing bugs on the main website, on the mobile view, and tweaking some things, going back and forth with the devs there. And yeah, basically just been doing some housekeeping last week. That's about it. So maybe I'll pass it over to Chad. I gotta be honest with you guys, I haven't even looked at Discord this morning, so I don't know if we have any new, or especially over the last week, Chad, if you can kind of update us on what's going on with the plan, how we're progressing, where we're at.
Yeah, sure. So we pushed out 3.19. I forget what day it actually was adopted. I want to say it was Tuesday or something like this. And that has the patches to TSS. It has some improvements to some additional protections in that one as well for the future moving forward. And also has this new like verify key function, which is just like a kind of like a key sign or a key party of some kind, but it just verifies the current keys are good and solid and all these kind of things. So the verify key functionality has not been functional quite yet. It's always complicated working in a peer-to-peer network because you've got dozens, if not 100 different operators. A couple of the nodes actually, it seems like a couple of the nodes deleted their key shares, and so it's hard to verify that the key is correct when you've deleted your key share. So, anybody listening, if you are a node operator, please don't delete your own key shares. That's just a bit silly.
Well, why did they do that? Was it a mistake? They just screwed up?
I don't know who the person is, and I just that's what we are gathering from trying to do the verify key thing. It's kind of insinuating that they don't have one. Maybe they thought that their keys were getting leaked, so they delete them out of security and then whatever. But it should be fine because when you restart Bifrost, it actually re-pulls down the key shares because we put the key shares on chain as like a backup. And that's like triple encrypted through, I think, 3 different cryptographies to make sure it's like real solid. Because we're always just worried about like some event where like a bunch of nodes like lose their keys, and then all of a sudden, oh crap, we can't sign any transactions. All the funds are locked in this particular vault or whatever. So when they restart their Bifrost, it should just pull it down automatically. But in general, please don't delete operators. Please don't delete your key shares. So didn't think I needed to say that. I thought that was kind of obvious, but please don't do that. So we have one more release coming out. It's going to be 3.19.1. It's got primarily 2 fixes in there. One is to make some improvements to the flakiness we've been seeing on the verify key functionality. And 2 is making a patch to GAIA. We had actually noticed, or actually I had noticed another bug within GAIA that could have minted a kind of infinite mint bug on the GAIA side through like an IBC related issue, which will also be patched as 3.19.1. That's why we paused or halted GAIA the other day. We had noticed this other exploit that was just sitting there. So that'll be patched as well. And then once that should be released, I think on Friday, maybe Monday. We'll get the nodes to update to 3.19.1. Hopefully that'll fix the GAIA issue, which we can resume GAIA at that point. We need to resume GAIA in order to do the churn. And we need to churn in order to solve the root of the exploit issue that started this whole process. It's kind of the many layers of this onion. And so hopefully that'll fix the verify key, give it some more stability. We'll find out then. But at this point, to be honest, like the verify key thing is not like a necessity in my view. It's to if there's somebody else in the probably not the original hacker, but if somebody else found a similar hack similar to this person, but executed a little bit differently, that the other ways we verify the key previously may have not caught like a higher valued like prime number, for example. So we wanted to do a complete, like we're 99.9% sure that there's no problem on other things, but the only way to be 100% sure is to actually do like this kind of verification process. And so, but if we don't want to spend weeks trying to stabilize a very complicated peer communication, stages that like it's so hard to get it right because it's in a world where there's just a bunch of different nodes across the world. And I don't control the nodes, so I can't just look at the logs, you know what I mean, and just be able to like pull the information. And if I want to make a patch, like that takes days. We have to, make the code change itself, which takes like a day or so. It has to be reviewed and merged. That's another day or so. It has to be cut and released. It has to be tested on StageNet. It has to be released to the nodes. It has to be adopted by the nodes. Like that whole process takes, 4, 5, 6 days, whatever it is. And it's a very slow process to be able to iterate and try new things, especially when you don't have all the information to figure out what the actual root of the actual problem is because you're not controlling the servers that are running all this stuff. It just makes it so hard. It kind of puts you in a darker room when you're trying to figure out what's going on. It's kind of hard to do so. So I don't want to spend too much time on that. We're going to take another stab at it with this next release through 3.19.1. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it works, it works. Either case, I think we'd be fine. But I don't want to delay putting the network back online just because of some minuscule, odds of something else being out there. And so that's the current state. That's kind of what we're currently thinking. Hopefully next week it'll be actually online and churning, and hopefully the churn will go very smoothly and all these kind of things, and we'll be able to get the network back online.
Can we take a second to spill? So there's some things going on Discord. Some people, this could be a rumor. Is there a single node that's holding things up, or is that completely untrue?
I don't think it's a single node. I think there's a couple of nodes that are holding things up. It's hard to tell if if you don't have your key shares, we can't. The verify key is not going to work. So yes, in that case. When we release 3.19.1, it'll actually restart Bifrost and pull down the keys again for that individual. So that should resolve itself in that particular scenario. But it is like a small node, a number of nodes. And this is why we in times like this, where it's a very stressful time, as you could probably imagine, we would ask that node operators to make themselves, readily available and be very conscious about your environment and, pull up upgrades and pay attention to the announcements and be quick in your responses just so that we can move things along as fast as possible.
Got it. Okay. Kenton, did you have anything you want to ask about that?
No, I was just trying to skim in Discord to see if I missed anything, but it seems like it's been quiet. Nothing else has really come up today.
Yeah. People are, sorry to cut you off, buddy. It's so good. People are just letting the devs work. I was ready to hammer somebody for just constantly tagging the devs. No, just let them work. They know, right? So it's been good to see. Chad, correct me if I'm wrong. If let's say we had to ban a node, I'm not saying we're going to do this or anything like that, but I see that floating. Is the behavior still the same where their entire bond would get yoinked, basically?
Yes, and unless the nodes we voted to put it up to 1 million RUNE, which would yank their bond 1 million RUNE or if they only had 800, it would be the full 800. Or we could vote to print it back down and ban them, but I'm not sure what the value of the addition that would give in this point.
We probably should move it back down. Because the idea of the ban wasn't to really truly hurt anyone. It was just to get them out of the way so we can move forward, right?
It was designed to be flexible in that sense. That's why there is a Mimir to make it a million RUNE or 1 RUNE, right? Like you can do whatever you want. To be flexible in the way we to use it. So I think it just depends upon the next case. Like this is the first time we've ever used a ban feature that I can recall in the 6 years of operation of this protocol. So it's not something we use very often at all, and it's questionable whether we'll ever use it again, right? But in the next circumstance we want to use the feature, maybe in that particular case it's malicious, like it is in this particular case. Maybe it's not. But it's also, at the very least, it's probably going to be like, like we talked about using it. I don't know if you guys remember this. This is from like a few years ago, but there was a guy that just like fell asleep at the wheel effectively. And he was like not doing anything for like, I think it was like 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and like not updating his node and not doing this and not doing that. And it was just like, there was talk at that time to use the ban feature to kick the guy out because he was so unattentive to his node and paying attention to what he needed to pay attention to, or she, whatever the gender was, and ended up being fine. He eventually woke up and updated his node or where the hell it was, and it was like a non-issue. But in that case, would you want to yank the RUNE or leave the RUNE alone? Right, that would be a thing we could debate.
I think we should leave it. Like,
so in that case, we'd probably want to do another vote and say, hey, let's turn it from 1 million RUNE down to 1 RUNE or something like this, or no RUNE, whatever, and then vote to ban the individual.
Yeah, I think the default setting should be like 0 or some nominal number, whatever, 1 RUNE or whatever. Because like, it's one thing to kick someone out because they're holding things up. It's a totally different situation stealing from them or like taking from them, right? Like, it's got to be blatantly clear, like in this case. And I like to think the chances of this happening again are slim or nil, right? It's more likely someone's going to fall asleep at the wheel and we just want to get them out. It's not like, like their penalty will be out of the network, not earning yield, right? And then they wake back up and they can come back in, then
it's at the point now where like, if somebody did not update their node who's an active validator, they would just be the first nodes to churn. Like the network will kick out. Once you get to a 2/3 majority of like, we all accept version 3.19, whatever, we would just select that person to be the next person to be churned out. So you would just be kicked out of the network anyway. You wouldn't be able to turn back in until you update to 3.19 or the latest version is. That's less true today because we've changed the way upgrades work from where it was back at that time. At this time, it's more like the standard Cosmos operator idea of we pick a height, block height, 80 million or whatever the number is, and then all the nodes just shut down at that height and then restart with the new code so that we all remain in consensus with each other. So in that scenario, if the person didn't update, they would keep on running on 3.18, but the network is running on 3.19, and they would get a consensus failure on their EUI, or their Thor node would get a consensus failure, would just like basically crash and wouldn't be able to restart until you upgrade to 3.19. So then that person would not be participating in consensus. They would not be making observations. They get slashed, and they would, eventually get selected to be churned out because they got slashed so much that they are, and the next churn they would be kicked out, and they wouldn't be able to churn back in because they wouldn't be able to participate in the key gens at that point because their node's down.
Yeah. Right. I got a question. How did the ban command work? It worked fine?
It worked just fine. To be honest, I'm a little surprised about it just because in code, in general, like if you have old code that's been sitting there for like years and like never used or touched or exercised at all, and then you have all the code around it, changing, dozens of times or hundreds of times or whatever, that's like a good chance that code is like, non-functional or have some sort of issue with it. But that not be the case here. Like even like the idea that we had bond providers, which wasn't a thing at the time we implemented this feature, it still worked with bond providers, even though bond providers didn't exist at that time, which is kind of like interesting how it actually worked correctly.
Thank God.
If it didn't, then we would have just pushed out 319, which we already did with, some sort of fixed for it. It wouldn't have been a huge deal, but it did work just fine from what I can tell.
I just thought of a potential bug exploit. I don't know, like, what if somebody in node or nodes can get in and somehow force out all these other nodes and bypass
Through a
the
bit-
2/3
through a-
majority, and so that they're the only ones remaining to control the keys. Is that something like Hugin covers, like thinks about stuff like that? You can check.
Well, there's lots of things inside the code base. For example, when we do a churn, we can only kick out so many nodes. The network actually won't allow you to churn out more than, I think, a third or something like this, because if you do that, there's a chance you might lose funds, because the active validator set that before that can move funds and do the churn, if half of them leave, theoretically, right, then half of them are gone, and you still have the other half, but the half are gone, but you don't have the 2/3 you need to sign a fucking transaction anymore. Like, obviously, that's not a good situation. We don't like that. There are lots of ways that you can be marked to be churned out. All those things are not selected by nodes. It's selected by the code base itself, right? So like me as an operator of a single node in this scenario, I wouldn't have an ability to select Kenton or select Denny to be churned out. So there's no mechanism as a validator to do that, other than the most effective way to do that. I probably shouldn't be talking this publicly, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Is to attack the other nodes and cause the other nodes to go offline, right? Or at least some percentage of them. So
That's a well-known thing. Yeah.
It's a kind of a well-known thing. Like, from being, you can DOS other operators, theoretically, which case, you as an operator should be defensive to being DOS, to be fair. Like, and you should have systems in place, whether that be like, IP restrictions, or there's a dozen different ways you could go about it. But if you get knocked down because other nodes are attacking you, then like you need to step up your game and be more secure, right, in the way that you function your operator or your node.
Well, that happened to the website when we went live. On the I don't know if anyone noticed, but we went live on a Tuesday, and then on the Sunday, the site was down for several hours. We were getting attacked, and so we had to like beef up the security a bit and whatnot, and so it's fine now. But yeah, I guess apparently when there's because it was a new site, then people try to look to poke holes in it, whatever. There's some way they can take advantage of it, stuff like that. So we just got flooded with bot traffic trying to pick it apart. So
yeah, especially when you have something that has money involved, right? So there's lots of opportunity. Like, I remember there was I want to say it was Badger, if I remember correctly, that they like somehow got like a JavaScript injection, where they were somehow able to inject malicious JavaScript code into the front end, and a bunch of funds were lost through that attack. And that's just like a website, right? It's not a protocol. Just like the website that the people were using to access the protocol got attacked through some sort of like CDN related injection of JavaScript or something like this. So there's always attack vectors to be, cognizant of.
Yeah. We do have a question. Soda Max asks, are nodes holding network are the node operators who are holding the network, who are not responsive, are they getting slashed, or is anyone getting slashed at all? And
I haven't looked at that specifically. With the kind of errors we're seeing from the verify key, probably not, because if you don't have your key share, then you're not going to participate in key signs. If you're not participating in key signs, technically that's okay. We don't get slashed for not participating, because technically there's always 1/3 of the nodes that are not of an ASGAR that are not participating in a key sign. You can't slash somebody for that, because you have to have 2/3 not. So you always have to have 1/3 gone or not participating. So to my knowledge, I don't think so in the current moment. But once we get past this verify key thing, on Monday, whether we get past because it's successful or we just couldn't get the party to join correctly and work with enough stability, then we would just move on to the key churn process probably, and that would be yes, you get slashed for that.
Gotcha. Sorry if you said it, I didn't catch it. Is there a slated time or an estimate time for the release of 3.19.1?
Yes. We're probably going to be cutting it by the end of the day, either today or tomorrow. It'll go through StageNet, have a little bit of testing. There's not a lot of changes in it, so there's not a lot of testing to be done, to be fair. So it should be fairly quick, I would imagine. And then we should release it to the nodes. If we're lucky on Friday, maybe if not Friday, then probably Monday.
Okay, sounds good. Someone's asking me to check a question, so I need to find that question real quick. Kenton, I'll kick it to you if you got anything.
No. So, okay. So let's say 3.19.1 goes out on Monday. Nodes have been pretty darn quick to implement these updates. The next major thing is the churn, which we all know could go through smooth or take a few days.
Yeah.
After the churn, do you have a guesstimate after the churn is successful, how many days it would take to get back to trading?
Yes, that's a good question. Let's imagine the churn goes well. That process takes a day or 3 days, and plus like the actual churn itself, which means migrating all the funds, that takes approximately six-ish hours or so, I think, last time I recall. And then once we're churned, we do some kind of validation checks, which should be very short, like an hour or so. And then we can probably start enabling features like signing, for example, all the signing stuff, trading itself, LP actions, and then trade assets and secured assets to deposit or withdraw. So it should be once the churn is successful, I think we're pretty much good to go, because 319 went very smoothly in terms of the migration to deal with the $10 million hole. Like, I think that went pretty smoothly, so that's good to go. And we just gotta churn and then probably just enable all those things once the churn is successful.
So enabling all those things could take a day, 24 hours?
Probably less than that if I had to guess.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Very
Yeah.
good.
So
Sorry.
it's still possible that we could be trading by next Friday. That's
Yeah, I would say I'd be surprised if it wasn't next Friday. Yeah. I would lean more towards like Tuesday, Wednesday.
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Next Friday.
Yeah, maybe you're right, because I always like underestimate like how quick the nodes take to actually do the upgrade, like, and
Yeah.
how quickly the churn actually churns, and
Well, if there's one thing I've learned working on THORChain and getting more involved in crypto is developers' sense of time. Sorry, Chad, you're a smart guy. You guys are all very smart.
always
but you guys'
2x
ability,
it. Always 2x it.
always, your guys' ability to estimate time is just, you're in a different dimension than the rest of humanity.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the optimism. But yeah, you're right. It will be a node thing for sure. Implement the new update. So, sorry, Danny, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I do have a question actually from a node operator, Chad. They would like
Yeah.
to know, as a node operator, how can I check if I'm not holding back the process? Bifrost is running and signing. That's the question.
Just make sure your node is up. Your Thor node, your Bifrost. Make sure you're at the tip of all the other all the external chains. Like, you're not far behind on that regard. If those things are true, you're probably pretty good. But also pay attention to the announcements channel. So once in a while, we might say, "Oh, hey, these nodes, you're being a problem." And just keep your eye on that. And if your node is in that list, then read the thing and address the problem. But if those things are up, like you're at the tip, Bifrost is up, Thor node is up, then you're probably fine.
Okay, very good. I'll keep an eye out if he has any follow-up questions at all.
Yeah.
Very cool. Or she, I don't know who it is. Another question here. Okay, someone just giving praise. Good. Glad. Thank you for that. Okay, good. If anyone has any questions, please ask, guys. Again, shout out to everybody. Everyone's been really great. I appreciate it. Go ahead.
Should we got somebody in the chat asking questions. Should we address it now or a bit later? Did you want to talk? Maybe just Chad. Anything more you want to talk about? The exploit, the hack, the fixes. Should we change the subject?
No, I think I think that's everything from my side of all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
If somebody has more questions about that, I'm happy to field it if I can.
Okay. And what we'll do is maybe next week, we'll have to set up a call between, I don't know, you or whoever else and some of the Lemur Labs guys, and we just have like a quick back and forth, like debrief what happened, so we can do a write-up, a proper postmortem. Or maybe you're already writing something, you want to have, if you have some bullet points or something, and then give it to us, and we can make it more readable.
Yeah.
Whatever's best for you guys, for you to do it.
Yeah, I have to think more deeply about this. I haven't really switched my brain into postmortem quite yet, but
Okay.
my plan is, well, you already got part of a postmortem done, and I think you had done one about the timeline and all these
Yeah.
things. That first post. I do want to get the THORChain team to write up a postmortem on the on the security side of things,
Yeah.
because they're more in the weeds on that than I am, to be fair. And then we might want to add one more postmortem on top of that. I'm not quite sure,
Sure.
but yeah.
Yeah, happy to do. Yeah, we should document it, and we
Yeah.
should put it out there, especially for fudders, but also for AI. And that's actually one of this guy's questions he's got about. He's talking about AI, but 'cause AI is going to read it, so we want to make sure we have as accurate and correct info as we can.
Mhm.
All right, let's kick it to this guy in the audience, Denny. He's got a. I'll just post
Uh,
his. So this guy asked Claude about THORChain. Claude responds in great detail and speaks well about the project, but at the same time, Claude says it sees very high risks of sanctions. And Claude gives an example of the amounts transferred from Bybit and what the regulators reminded us about it. Could make it clear to Claude that this is not the case and the risk is not high. So, good questions, funny videos. So, first off, yes, this is part of what I'm working on, my mandate. And this falls in line with SEO, is AEO, answer engine optimization, so that we're training AI and with correct, accurate info on THORChain. And that's something I've been working on. Basically, we just got to write articles and get them out there, whether it's on our blog or on third-party sites. And but it's a long process, just like SEO. Like you don't get top-notch SEO in one day or week. Like it takes months of time and training and putting stuff out there. But I'm working on it. And something too, I actually just read this the other day about AI, about some guy who's actually a seed investor in OpenAI and went down some like rabbit hole and got like, what do they call it? AI psychosis or something.
Oh yeah.
But basically AI tells you what you want to hear. Right. So funny videos. If you're constantly asking Claude, what is the risk of THORChain being sanctioned? What's going to happen with regulators in THORChain? Is THORChain going to be shut down? And you keep hammering it. Claude's just going to Claude hears what you're saying and your questions and thinks, this guy wants me to tell him yes. And Claude will tell you yes. Claude, AI tells you what you want to hear. And so this is how like people get on AI and they go down a rabbit hole and end up killing themselves, end up divorcing from their wife or their husband, or quitting their job, or doing something ridiculous because they just keep asking AI all these questions. Eventually AI just, all right, you want to hear something ridiculous, I'm going to tell it to you. So you got to be cognizant of that. AI isn't always correct. And so yeah, please take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
You're going to add something, Chad, or okay, sorry.
Yeah, I
Dan.
mean, I would say on this question about like AI's response, like, to my knowledge, I've never seen any article or post or anything about THORChain getting quote unquote sanctioned. I don't recall any of us ever see anything online, like even on Twitter, like from my own personal eyes. I don't know, maybe other people have seen something I haven't, but so like I'm curious of where the AI would have pulled in, right, this idea of sanction, because I haven't seen it anywhere on the internet personally. I don't know if you guys have or whatever, but I haven't.
No,
Not that
it's
specific context. I mean, I see people fudding, but I don't really know where they
it's
pulled
FUD.
the yeah.
Yeah. It's all fake news. Like this is a problem. Like people just
Fake news.
the fake. I can't do it. Fake news. How do you? I can't do it. But
I do want to watch you try though.
But it's just everyone's trying to create clickbait, and fear porn sells, and so they want to THORChain's become a whipping dog for some of these journalists, and they just want to write negative stuff, and then people read that as if it's true, but it basically a lot of it's slander. So kind of what the person asking the question is, how do we fight slander? And it can be hard, in this digital age. There's only so much we can do, right? But I'm honestly not worried about it in the end. I think all the money laundering stuff, I mean, this was, for every one money laundering article or accusation there is about THORChain, there's probably 10 or 100 times more for Bitcoin. And now all these people that are accusing Bitcoin of money laundering are now embracing it and building entire businesses around it. So it's the rite of passage for a legitimate cryptocurrency to be criticized for money laundering, right? And so I actually find it really odd, especially for people who are in crypto. I've been in crypto for 10 years and they talk about THORChain being money laundering. It's like, what have you been doing in crypto for the last 10 years? This has been one of the biggest criticisms of the entire industry ever since it was started. And
Bitcoin's for criminals, right?
Yeah, have we not gotten
the Silk Road days?
Yeah, it's. I just find it completely ridiculous. It's like that saying, tell me you don't know anything about crypto without saying you don't know anything about crypto. If you're still worried about the money laundering, to be talking about that still is so 2015,
It's a crypto boomer speak, you know what I mean?
It is, yeah. So I think it's great, you guys. I love those articles. I think it's great advertising for us. It for people who really understand the point of crypto. People that really want to use crypto want to use the stuff that is for money laundering. That's the whole point. Not to launder money, but it's permissionless. It's uncensorable. It's a free system. So I wouldn't get too worked up about it, guys.
And for those who maybe tune in who are not familiar with THORChain, you can't obfuscate anything on THORChain. Everything is open. You can see everything on a block explorer. THORChain does not obfuscate or conceal anything. There is no privacy directly on THORChain. Just full stop. So that's just the way it is. Chad, I think you were going to say something. I'll kick it to you.
Yeah, I was just curious because we were just talking about, so I just typed into Google THORChain and sanctioned, just to see what comes up, just to see what the AI is pulling in. And there was no articles with sanction in it. So I added there's a way you can force Google to always include a certain word. People know that. And so I had to go through that.
Right?
Yeah, something like that. And all the articles that I'm seeing is just it's a article about THORChain and about sanctioned entities using THORChain, using the Lazarus Group or North Korea or Garantex, which I think is a Russian exchange that is questionable in its efficacy. And so it's not saying that THORChain is sanctioned or THORChain will be sanctioned or anything like that. It's just saying that there are sanctioned enemies who choose to use THORChain in one form or another. And maybe the AI is taking THORChain in a article and seeing the word sanctioned and token of most likely next token, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff.
But let's have this thought experiment.
Yeah.
Let's say THORChain does become sanctioned. Okay, which government? Well, it's going to be the U.S. government, right?
Probably.
Maybe Europe, the EU. So how to say this? You guys your balls have to drop from your body at some point.
Hiya! Kenton swinging strong here.
At what point do you acknowledge that the sanctioners are the problem, are the issue, are the evil, are the bad guys? just because you are sanctioned doesn't mean you're doing anything bad. Like the Jews were sanctioned in Germany in the 30s. Like that doesn't mean they're doing anything bad. Like it's usually the sanctioner that is the problem doing something wrong. And so this is the whole point of the crypto industry, this peer-to-peer technology, that it makes the sanctioners impotent, that they can write their decrees and they can point guns, but they can't stop this decentralized code, this decentralized network. And so I think some people have maybe have a hard time understanding that. So you got to view like Bitcoin, Ethereum, THORChain as sovereign nation states, like with their own, like they're sovereign. They have their own borders, they have their own rules, they have their own police, courts, whatever.
Governance.
Governance. These are brand new nations, countries being created.
Digital nations.
Digitally. They're in cyberspace. Yeah. And basically and if you look at any physical country in meat space, really what defines a nation is your ability to defend your borders. Like, can you claim this territory and stake it and prevent anyone else from coming in? And eventually the rest of the world just acknowledges, all right, we acknowledge you exist as a nation. At first they never do, right? That we don't recognize your government and this and that, blah, blah, blah. Give it a few decades, whatever. Eventually you are recognized. It's gonna be the same thing with crypto. I think Bitcoin is finally recognized as like an independent nation state. Ethereum's got to be close if it isn't there already. And these others will be too. That it's just like, okay, once the sanctioners, everyone's worried about, they deem and agree these things are decentralized, that really that's what them admitting that they can't do anything about it, that they're sovereign, they're independent because they're decentralized. The decentralized just means they can't affect them. They can't do anything about it. So, and I would argue, I have argued, I do argue, THORChain is there. Maybe we're on the cusp, maybe we're just barely there, but we're definitely there, and we're definitely more further there than 99.9% of other cryptos in the industry. So, yeah. I rant over. All done. Go ahead, guys.
No, that was well said. That was very well said. And back in 2021, I was, watching, or 2020, I should say, I was watching Chad Barraford YouTube videos learning about THORChain. And I remember thinking at the time, that, wow, THORChain seems like a really good technology to help the world, right? And so, I met Chad in 2021 in Colorado, ETH Denver, and I was very eager and very, excited, right? And since then, I got involved in politics, government. And then, it's so funny to me that people want to throw the claim of money laundering at THORChain, which again, we've established you can technically not do on THORChain. But I learned that the economic system as it's set up right now in traditional finance is built from the ground up to facilitate money laundering. That's what it is, right? Like the people who do the money laundering are wagging the finger, accusing the protocol that can't money launder. It's hilarious. And it's come to my point now, especially in 2026, 2025. If I was motivated before, I once thought that THORChain would be good for the world. I am becoming to the conclusion that it's one of the only solutions. And so THORChain is the solution, you guys. I cannot emphasize that enough. And that's why we're never going to stop, because this is the way it's got to be. Chad, I think I cut you off. Were you going to say something? We do have two questions piling up. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, on the topic of sanctions, just a fun thought experiment just to kind of ponder on. Like in a matter of speaking, if we assume for the moment that THORChain is its own state, right? Just for hypothetical conversation here. THORChain has the ability to sanction others if it chose to see so. Like if you wanted to ban a certain address, like if you were to say this address is not going to trade on THORChain, hypothetically, because I know all to come together and to make this agreement to do so, that would be in effect a sanction, right? Because you are saying that you are sanctioned, we are not going to interact or trade with you, which is commonly what a sanction is. From one country to another country, we're sanctioning you. We're going to ban, lumber sales in Canada, for example. I'm going to pick on Kenton because he's Canadian there, but we could imagine a hypothetical scenario where, the United States government is now integrated with THORChain itself, because Bitcoin and stables are now an integral part of society. And so now banks deal with Bitcoin and stable coins and like all these other things, right? And maybe for them, they're using THORChain because it's fast, efficient, and cheap, blah, 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 whatever. I don't know. This is all hypothetical, of course. Like the protocol could, in theory, sanction the United States of America. And that's in that scenario, it is like technically feasible in this kind of fun little thought experiment that this state of THORChain could sanction the United States of America in this kind of, and I find that idea just hysterically kind of funny in a sense. Not to mention, it's actually hard for them to, like, this from a more technical perspective. It's very hard for the United States to actually sanction THORChain. They did it with Tornado Cash, and they did it by saying that these addresses, right, that are run by Tornado Cash are now sanctioned. But because we churn every 3 days, our addresses change every 3 days. So the sanctioner, the United States Sanction Office, what's it called, OTFC or whatever, I can't remember the name of it.
Or OFAC?
OFAC, yeah. OFAC would need to update their list every 3 days in order to stay on top of it, which I don't know if they even have the capability. Like, I don't know what the bureaucracy is to actually to do a sanction, right? You can't just, like, a guy just decides it and sanction that, like, signs a thing and then it's done. I would imagine if you want to sanction something, it takes time and many signatures and committees to come together, like just the bureaucracy of government to step in and make it difficult. So I would wonder if they could practically even sanction the protocol itself, just because it churns its addresses every few days, you know?
Yeah.
And then it becomes harder because you can't say, like, oh, where all the money goes is also sanctioned. Well, that would mean that the trade that Kenton did yesterday is now sanctioned, his wallet. Why is Kenton being sanctioned here? Like, why is he being rolled up into this thing? Like, that makes no sense either.
Yeah.
So it just becomes like a very kind of fascinating, like almost practical technical challenge of, like, how would a government actually sanction an entity like THORChain that is constantly churning every few days? It becomes increasingly difficult, I would think.
Yeah.
I do have a question
Well,
on this. Go ahead, Kenton.
I
Yep.
want to add to it. So, like, Denny, you mentioned the existing financial system is built to launder money. And you're totally right. Like, Andreas Antonopoulos he would rant about this. I posted 2 videos from Andreas in the chat. What's the guy's name? 2 videos? Who was asking these questions? Right? Yeah, funny videos. Watch those 2 links I just posted from Andreas. And, like, the current financial system is just rife with corruption already. This is what we're trying to fix. But, like, let's just, despite everything Chad said, let's just pretend they still find a way to sanction us, to sanction THORChain, whatever that looks like. Like, it's a capital control. So at some, like, this is something people in the West have no experience with a currency actually collapsing. Like, when a financial system is collapsing, the local government puts in capital controls, which is preventing money from leaving the country. They want to keep the capital trapped in the country because the more that it tries to escape, it exacerbates the collapse. And the reason the money is trying to escape is because people are trying to get out of their local currency and buy dollars, right? To protect themselves, save themselves. So a capital control is a sanction. People are being sanctioned. You cannot exchange your local currency for something else. They're trying to trap you in the system. They're trying to keep you in the burning building on the boat that's sinking. And so if THORChain gets sanctioned in whatever way, shape, or form you come up with, that's your canary in the coal mine that the ship is sinking. The building is on fire, that, like, you need to get out. It's not to stay in the system that is allowed and unsanctioned. You want to be in the system, like the opposite. You want to be in the system that is sanctioned. Just like Monero being delisted from these centralized exchanges. Like, that tells you it's good. This is where you should be. And I'm sorry, if some people, they can't accept that. Mentally, they just can't get over that hurdle. I feel bad for them because they're the ones going to go down with the ship. So I hope if someone's paying attention to THORChain and crypto at this stage in the game, like, you're there, you're on our side with us. So you shouldn't Yeah, I wouldn't get so worked up or worried about the sanctioning stuff or being turned off or anything like that. I think
Yeah, there's no appetite for it. I mean, especially with this administration, there's just no appetite for it.
yeah.
It'd be hard to achieve. It'd be we could push against it legally speaking, sue the government, and it's just
Yeah.
I am really not concerned about it for a whole host of reasons, to be honest.
Well, I think if they tried, you're right, they wouldn't work. And again, it just proves they're impotent. They'd be proving that they can't do it, which shows their hand, right? And they don't want to show that they're weak and ineffectual. So they'd be
Well said.
wiser, smarter just to ignore it. Don't do anything. Yeah, sorry.
It's always
guys.
refreshing when I'm talking to my boys and they know what the heck's going on. I love it. I do have 3 questions pulled up, and one is topical to this exact conversation. Oliver, I do see your question. I will get to it. It's kind of for you, Kenton, but I want to ask this. We have another node operator. They'd like to know, so sorry, give me a second. The question is, if USDT can be frozen and therefore sanctioned, ordered by a government, THORChain and freeze fault funds, how could THORChain handle such a scenario? We've talked about this before, but go ahead, Chad. I'll kick that one to you, I suppose.
Yeah, if USDT or USDC were to freeze funds, they can do that technically any time they want. And what would happen is those funds would be frozen. We'd probably have to pause trading for those pools. If you're an LP of that pool, sorry, you just lost half of your value. And then we would carry on. But honestly, that's never even close to ever happened in our history. Not just THORChain history, but just the crypto industry. You've never they've always sanctioned, or not sanctioned, but frozen funds into a wallet with stolen funds. Like I stole funds from this smart contract and I put it into my EOA wallet, and then that wallet gets frozen. That's happened, and that's very clear and obvious that these funds are stolen. Blah 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 blah. No DEX, whether it be Uniswap or THORChain or ChainFlip or whatever it is, has ever been frozen for any case or scenario that I know of or aware of. So I really don't see that happening unless there's some huge push by the government to do so, which again, this government doesn't really care about that in the least bit. And to be honest, even if we had what's her name? What's the senator from Massachusetts? Warren, Elizabeth Warren, who's an anti-crypto kind of hawk in a sense. Even if she was president of the United States, I still don't think that would ever even happen.
There's a follow-up. The follow-up is that they have frozen funds and smart contracts. Do you think that's topical to THORChain in any way?
Yeah, but even the smart contracts, to my knowledge, and I could be wrong, is around hacked or lost funds, and even in that scenario, because sometimes you can be, instead of an EUA wallet, you send it to a Gnosis wallet, for example, or something else. Is it possible? It absolutely is possible. I just doubt that likely to ever happen, but I could be mistaken. And if I am mistaken, and it does happen, then crap, we just lost this token. Whatever the liquidity is that we had just got frozen. It sucks for the LPs. It sucks for any secured assets or Rayyyk apps that are currently using it. And then just has to be, people just have to lose their money in that scenario.
I think this goes to exactly to your point you made earlier, Chad, and Kenton's point, is that this is just this would go to show, this is like the canary in the coal mine of just how weak and it would be a sign of impotence, right? It would only hurt the dollar itself. And so, yeah, you can hurt THORChain in the short term, but you're going to hurt the fiat in the long term. So it is what it is.
It's much more disastrous to do that to ChainFlip, because ChainFlip uses USDC as their base asset in all of their pools. So if Circle decided to freeze ChainFlip, the entire protocol is done at that point. You are done. Everybody loses their money. You're just fucked at that point. And so I hope that doesn't happen for them for obvious reasons. But that's also why they are essentially a semi-centralized entity, and they do lock funds and ban addresses and all these kind of things because they don't want to flirt with Circle to knock them over, because they are susceptible. They have to bend the knee to Circle, right? For us, we don't bend the knee to Circle or anybody for that matter. If they want to freeze us, they can go ahead and freeze us, and that sucks, but it's not going to kill us by any stretch.
Yeah, we're not
And-
surrendering to ethos at all. Go ahead,
You
Kenton.
got to game theory it out too. Like if Tether goes on a rampage, freezing all these liquidity pools and addresses and whatever, they could experience a bank run. You know, why is
Yeah.
anyone going to sit in Tether and hold on to it and risk getting frozen? And
Yep.
so as long as there's some competition, genuine competition between the stablecoin issuers, they're going to be very reluctant to freeze, because if they get too eager beaver about freezing tokens, they're going to stop growing. They're going to stop making deposits. People are going to withdraw and go to another stablecoin. And then let's say, okay, what are all the stablecoin issues? Let's say they're all acting together, working as one. There's an oligarchy. And this, stablecoins are the new CBDC, blah, blah, blah. Well, this is kind of the point of getting out of TradFi. Like we all agree and acknowledge stablecoins are not crypto, right? Like, so like depending on your views of the dollar and the traditional financial system, it's going to collapse. It's going away. It's going to zero. And as it's trying to survive and stay relevant, it's going to freeze bank accounts and bank holidays and all this kind of stuff, right? So, probably part of the par for the course will be the stablecoin issuers freezing people's wallets, including liquidity pools. But again, that isn't something bad happening to THORChain. That's the traditional system, the canary in the coal mine. It's falling apart. It's collapsing. It's going away. Be out of stablecoins. Be in Bitcoin, right? Be in the decentralized stuff. So, yeah, it's not like we could get rid of all the stablecoin pools. I don't think it would affect THORChain too well. I guess it is a big trading pair, but I don't think it'd be catastrophic.
I wonder if the community would do like a class action lawsuit against Circle in that scenario, USDT with a tether. Like if you have funds, you're LPing on some protocol, doesn't matter if it's THORChain or something else. You're an LP, whatever, and then all of a sudden you lose half of your liquidity because of USDT or Tether locks your funds. And then there's a class action suit against Tether from LPs of THORChain or LPs of Uniswap or whatever the thing is going to be. Like that would be a huge lawsuit against them. And to be honest, I think they would instantaneously win that lawsuit, because what the hell did Kenton do to deserve to lose his funds? Probably fuck all nothing, right? Yeah. Why would you lose the $80,000 or $10,000 or $100 that you lost in that process? And why are they going to hold the funds? And so like that would be a very easy lawsuit, I think, in that case.
No.
Yeah, interesting. I don't want to change the subject, but we do have a question. They have been waiting very patiently. So is it okay if I do that real quick, guys?
Yeah,
it's for you, Kenton. Okay, Kenton, they'd like to know, how about pushing articles of how much volume is coming from retail integrations? I know you've talked about that before, but go ahead.
Yeah, every subject's on the table. So the goal is just like getting all kinds of positive content out there. Any positive positive propaganda we can come up with. So what's hard, guys, what's been taking, I've got a few articles out there. One is writing them, getting people to write them, and then two, just getting them distributed. I'm trying to do it cost effectively. And so I keep getting hung up and snagged and whatnot. But so we've got some stuff out there. Actually, this is one of the reasons I let Rayyyk go. This is something he's supposed to be working on. He's just totally dropping the ball. But this is what we'll see now. Once trading resumes, I hired Marketer Cross to do this, to get articles and public relations for us. And they said it's best just to be quiet right now. Let the news cycle do its thing. Just lay low. Once trading resumes, then we'll go out to the market with more positive stories and articles, and try to get people to get journalists to write about them and get them published somewhere. So I'm expecting for us to start seeing some more like positive articles in general about THORChain, and then that can be one of them, about the retail volumes. But every subject, every topic is on the table. I would expect from Marketer Cross right away, it'd probably be more focused on just everything's fine, trading's back up. And then when Monero gets live, try and talk about that, get some eyes on that. What else? There's back to the AI training. Apparently AI really likes lists and tables. So something we'll do is create an article where it's like, what are the best dexes in crypto, or the top 10 dexes, or how do the different dexes compare to each other, something like that. And we'll have THORChain and ChainFlip and Near and Uniswap and ChangeNow and Changely, and we can come up with a list and do like our pros and cons, have 5 categories and compare them all type thing, how they all stack up. And so you may have noticed that if you're like looking for like, reviews on a TV or something like that, you'll come up with like, you'll find articles on Google. It's like they rank like 1 to 10 type thing. So apparently SEO and AI really like that kind of stuff. So, we'll do some articles like that. And so if you see that on the blog or whatever, and you're like, well, why are we writing about all our competition? And, maybe we do have to say some good things about them. We're playing the game because we're trying to feed the algorithm, get into AI, help train it, and compare ourselves to our competition. So rather than just speaking only about THORChain, we actually should get more visibility if we compare THORChain to other things. And that might help get us get placement. So hopefully that answers your
I think it
question.
did. It was a good, I don't know if keywords are the correct phrase here, but just having more information out there just pulls it in. So I really like your thinking, Kenton, and thank you for keeping up on it.
And
go ahead.
Maybe I'll just add, so just so you guys understand, it's expensive. I can pay a few grand for a press release that goes to like 30 different websites type deal, but it'll say sponsored content or paid placement, and then that gets zero. That doesn't count towards SEO. It doesn't, because it's paid. So what's hard, the hang up is trying to get articles out there that don't have that tag. So they do get picked up by the algorithm by searching and whatnot. And so this is what Market Across can help us with, is going to journalists where you can't pay to get an article with them. You just ask them. But the way you ask them is you come to them with a good idea, an article already kind of pre-written, a subject they're already looking for, and you kind of do half or 3/4 of their job for them, and then they put it out there. And then there are some sites where we can pay. Sometimes they put paid, sometimes they don't. And so it's just a matter of kind of massaging it, playing with it. But I'm trying to do more than just posting on our blog to try and get other stuff out there. And actually, I did have this. This was my phase 2, just before the hack. Was I was going to start putting money and resources towards getting an article per week, at least one article a week going out there. But all that's been put on hold. And so I've got the Lemur Labs guys have come up. We've got 12 articles now, I think, in the pipeline. We're just going to keep creating them and building them up. And then, once trading resumes, we're starting making some money again. I've tried to curb my spending as much as possible. I know what my budget is, then I'll be able to start putting some more money towards that again. Basically, it costs money, guys, to do that. So, I am working on it.
Perfect. Yeah, good answer. We have another question. This is more geared towards you, Chad. And before I ask, we're coming up to the top of the hour, guys. For those who are turning in, didn't see the very beginning, 3.19.1 hopefully will get pushed today or tomorrow, and then a little bit of testing, and then that'll help us resolve. But the question is from Jeff. Can't you just ignore unresponsive nodes? They lose out by falling behind, correct? So the incentive is to participate. Just let them go if they are lazy. So I guess the question is, in this specific context, Chad, is there a reason? What's the reason why we need 100% node participation?
Yes. So when you're doing a KeyVerify, all the nodes have to participate in order to verify it. You can't do it with a 2/3 majority. All nodes have to participate. Same thing for keygen. So when we want to churn, unless you're being churned out, we need every node to participate. Otherwise, if you didn't participate, then how would you have a key share to be able to sign transactions, tomorrow, so to speak? So there are some activities, certain things that require 100% of nodes to participate, and there are others that require just a 2/3 majority, like observing that a transaction came in on Ethereum or doing a key sign. These things are a 2/3 majority, and people fall behind in that sense. In every respect, that's probably fine. They'll get slashed. The network, carries on without a hitch. But certain things like keygen and verify key are both things that require all the nodes to participate for it to be valid.
Okay, perfect. There you go. Hope that answers your question, Jeff. One thing we talked about last week that I thought was really interesting. You mentioned there's like a list of like 11 things. That one part of the clip got some traction in the community. People are really happy to see that the team's already being proactive and thinking of, there's a lot of things that happen in the background. I know we can't break things down necessarily. That will happen at some point. But one thing that was really interesting was we talked about this, I think it was last week, the double cryptography potentially, where you use a combination of GG20 and DKLS. Is that still something that's being thought about? I know you guys are focusing on the network, but that was a really interesting idea.
It is an interesting concept. I don't know how I feel about it quite yet, to be honest with you. If we do go that direction, it won't be happening anytime soon. And the reason why I say that is because in order to do that, we need to support DKLS. So if we were to go that direction, hypothetically, what would be the way to go, at least the way that I think about it, although I haven't spoken in detail with the security team yet because we're focused on getting things up first. But we'll be moving from GG20 to DKLS because I think that's a good move. It's a stronger security design and implementation. I would hope, and making that change so that we support DKLS, and then we could add back in GG20, into this kind of like multi-sig with two signers, one being GG20, one being DKLS, and then carrying on that kind of way. That's obviously really complicated for a handful of reasons. There's a lot of fragility that comes with that because when you make systems more complicated, it stands to reason that things become more fragile or easier to break or whatever. So that becomes part of the issue, and so it'd be hard to get that right on day one. It'll probably have some bugs, and you just don't want it to be a bug where you lose all the money. Like that's kind of like, you don't want that severity where you just can't sign anything. That would obviously be really bad. So we don't want that. But it is something to be considered. I do like it for a few reasons. And I don't like the complexity of it for obvious other reasons. But that is something that to be explored by the security team predominantly to figure out what makes the most sense for us.
I'm really glad for you to say that out loud, Chad, that the more complexity, the more fragile it is. It's so true. The simpler the machine, the less probability of it breaking. And like there's any, go ahead.
And you're also adding in multisig. We don't have multisig today. So all of a sudden you're adding in multisig. Now, is that secure? Right? Maybe there's some sort of bug either in our implementation of multisig, or there could be a bug of multisig on the Bitcoin blockchain, which, by the way, historically, there was a long time ago, right? So, you're exposing yourself to new things that you're not exposed today. So it is a complicated thing to reason about. And to be honest, there's no clear right necessarily answer or wrong answer. It just becomes a weighing of the pros and the cons, the ROIs, and whatever this kind of stuff is. And it's hard. It's a very hard question to answer.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like I said before, I don't really have an answer for this question. I don't know how I feel about it quite yet, but it is an interesting idea to ponder on and think about and explore.
And if somebody's listening, so like the term over engineering, this is a real phenomenon, right? And it's why.
Yeah.
So I used to work in oil and gas, and engineers. You had engineers in the office, and you had field guys, and the field guys were always like, they worked their way up. They've been there for 30 years. They've got tons of hands-on experience. They know as much, if not more, than the engineer in the office who's, just all he's done is seen theory on paper. And it's a classic butting the heads because the engineer in the office comes up with this beautiful plan, and you go out to the field, and the field guy's like, well, this isn't going to work. Or we can try it, but there's so many moving parts that I don't see how it's going to add up because
Yeah, it becomes like a Rube Goldberg machine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And so and more often than not, the field guy is right and the engineer is wrong, because not because the field guy knows exactly how it's going to break. He just knows with so many moving parts like this, it's just so unlikely because everything has to go correctly. You have a lot of and statements, right? With probability, every time, you have to flip, if I have to flip heads, and the car has to be red, and you have to be wearing a white shirt, and every time there's an and, you're reducing the probability of its success. And so the more complicated your system and all these steps and all these things you got to do, there's all these and statements, you're decreasing your probability of it working. So the reason I'm maybe kind of over explaining this is just some people hear these ideas and think, oh, we should add this and add that and do all these cool things. Like, you're actually making it more fragile. You're going to make it more susceptible to problems. So just like you said, Chad. So it's really, for me, it's really good to hear you say this. I'm like, okay, you know what you're doing. You understand that you can't overcomplicate this thing. We got to keep it simple, and that's what makes it more safe.
Which is funny because like THORChain itself is a very complicated protocol. Like I said, like the simpler something is, the less problems you're going to have, the less bugs you're going to have, and probably the less security issues you're going to have. Like in general, that's kind of true, although not entirely. That's a little bit more complicated. And so as we have this like really complicated code base, and we have all this AI being thrown at it, Mythos, Flat, whatever hell, Fable 5 or whatever hell it is, like these things can add just more surface area to attack, to manipulate. And sometimes, as we've talked about before, a small benign bug in one location and a small benign bug in another location and a small benign bug in another location, they kind of create a pathway that doesn't exist independently of each individual, flashpoint or checkpoint rather. So like, adding all this complexity of GG20 and DKLS and multi-sigs and creating the keys and then creating a multi-sig wallet and moving all the funds and verifying just to use the and phrasing that Kenton was just talking about. It's hard, and nobody else does it like this. We would be the first ones, to my knowledge, at least. And maybe we need to, because we're more decentralized than other protocols, and so we don't keep our node operators. Anybody can be, including malicious ones, as we recently saw. So we have to think very differently, and maybe that means we have to be more complicated. But it's not clean in that we add more complexity, more things can go wrong, making our churns even more fragile than they already are today.
Right. Yeah. I like this, this good examples, and, good point that Kenton made between engineers in the office and then the engineers in the field. And then there's also this thing I've noticed with engineers in the field and then mechanics. This is a big thing where, in the car industry, you'll have an engineer design a beautiful, perfectly form-fitting gas tank that, maximizes utility of volume and stuff like that. But the mechanic is like, how am I supposed to fix this damn thing? You know what I mean? So there's always like these layers. Yeah, I can't even access that. I have to cut a hole in the floor to get to the cat, you know what I mean? So there's so many things. Yeah, it's an interesting conversation for sure. There's always this give and take between complexity and robustness. Super interesting conversation to be had for sure. I'm going through here, guys. I'm not seeing any other questions. Well, I've been noticed as well on Discord, despite being, we're paused, we have some devs, or maybe most of the devs, trying to solve this issue. I don't know. But there's also, work is still ongoing with like chain clients. I've noticed you guys have been merging things and doing different things on the side. So maybe you can speak a little about, Chad, what are things that are going not related to this particular issue we're having?
Yeah, I have a standing meeting every Wednesday with the ChainNet team to talk about the current status of whatever we're working on from adding chains perspective. I've been skipping it the last few weeks to stay focused on more important things. But I think this week, or maybe even last week as well, we started doing them again. So the current conversation we were having at a high level right now is that once we churn for the first time, which will be hopefully like early next week, if everything goes smoothly, maybe later in the week, we can then release a Zcash change to the node launcher to enable it by default. So then nodes pull in that update, and then the next churn out for that one, we would create the vault with Zcash supported. then the treasury would probably, add some Zcash or some RUNE and kind of spawn the pool, so to speak. So Zcash will probably be added to the network, fairly quickly once the network is back online and churning again within a week or two. We're also getting close to feeling good about Monero. We've been testing it on ChainNet for a little while now. There's more testing happening, so we might find things into the future. But the testing so far has been actually really quite smooth and quite good. We haven't found anything too significant. And so Monero will hopefully get added maybe July 1st or July 15th, like somewhere in those 2 points. We'll have Monero live on mainnet. After that, the next chain I think is Tau or Dash. I'm not sure which one.
I think it should be Tau and Polkadot, I think.
Tau, yes. I think that one still needs to be merged. I think that's somebody's review, and nobody's been reviewing much code the last few weeks for obvious reasons. I certainly have not. But Tau would be as part of the 320 launch, which would be probably 6 weeks from now-ish, right around there. And so we have a Tau in the code ready to go. Although I think we could go earlier because we did add the Tau. Oh no, there was additional change we needed. So no, we have to wait for 320 on Tau. And so Tau and Dash would probably be the next. I want to get to a place where we can start doing that stuff in parallel, like multiple chains being launched more or less at the same-ish time rather than sequentially one at a time. That's one of I would like to get to that place where we get that smooth kind of progress happen in that kind of way, that kind of, assembly line kind of mentality. Yes. So we'll be adding Zcash probably within a couple of weeks of getting back online. And then Monero probably in the first 2 weeks of July, and then hopefully Tau would be after 320 when that gets adopted in 6+
that would be
weeks.
So badass. That's the way you do it. You have this thing that happened, really terrible thing. You recover pretty well, and then we start immediately pushing more chains. I mean, that'd be a great turnaround. I think that would just be
It's funny, I've said this, I don't know if it's on this podcast or not, but I said I feel like THORChain is going to give people whiplash because we've had this kind of big event where we got attacked and lost 10 million or whatever the hell the number is. And then we had so many things in the pipeline, almost ready to go at the time. We had dynamic fees, rev shares as part of 319, by the way. We've got Monero, we've got Zcash, we've got lots of really big, things I'm very excited about those things. I don't know about the rest of the community, but I'm really excited about those things. I think they're going to be pretty big. And so we're going to have this kind of terrible event, and then we're going to get online, and within a month or so, all this positive things happening. It's going to get people whiplash. I thought THORChain was dead. They got hacked. Now they're doing so well. I'm very excited for that.
It should be, if there's any, I would say blessing is the right word, but I guess if the hack was going to happen, maybe it's kind of good that it happened at this right now, because when we go back live, we honestly have all this positive news to talk about and get going and recover from it right away. If we didn't, it'd be a bit harder to kind of, get back on track. But I agree with you, Chad. I like to think we can pick up where we left off with the momentum, and hopefully these market across guys can help us with that, get to talking about it. I'm dude, I think everyone else is excited for the same things you are. I don't think it's just you. So, this is the other thing too. We've still been talking to layer ones that want to get listed on THORChain, projects that want to integrate THORChain. I have 2 or 3 new interfaces keep bugging me. When are you guys trading? When are you going back on? No one is wants to go away from THORChain or is stopped anything. They're still let's go. Let's the hack hasn't phased anyone from what I can tell. Everyone still is excited, wants to keep moving, looking forward to when we get trading back going. So, which is for me kind of the ultimate litmus test, because we can all sit around here and talk about how great we are and how good everything is, but it's when these outside parties, what do they really think? It hasn't phased them. They're supportive. They want to keep going. They still want to integrate THORChain. So, I think that's the best feedback we can get.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Agree.
100%. I love it. And, you know, like you said, guys said, we have so many good things coming, to your point, Kenton. I think as well. I mean, this is a 0 day, very hard to prevent 0 days. But, you know, I'm just so happy that, you know, we've got great cryptographers now. Because I think you said last week, Chad, you know, the previous security team, they were good at what they did, but they weren't cryptographers. And cryptography is a whole different math game. And so I think coming from this, THORChain will be much stronger. And it's overall going to be a lot of silver linings to it. You know what I mean? It could have been so much worse, you guys. It could have been count your blessings and nothing really changes, just a little delay. So that I'll take that any day over 5 or 6 Asgard vaults getting rugged. One, you know what I mean? Okay, sucks, but whew, we can recover from that. And POL, right? POL is coming, so we can have POL start getting that liquidity replaced. We get new chain integrations. You guys, it's okay.
I feel like we got to talk about POL. I'm a bit. Maybe I'm being anxious.
Do it.
I feel like we have to communicate. We got to start talking about it. I feel pretty strongly, guys. Like we got to do 25. I think I came up with 25%, and that'll leave 50% of the fees going to nodes. And like we got to get the pools back in balance, like or get the fee split back in balance between nodes and pools. And so either the yield goes to POL or the yield goes to liquidity providers. And we're all hurting. We're all suffering right now. If this means we lose some bond providers or lose some nodes, this is part of the network. The network has to shrink and grow with the revenue, right? And like, there's nothing saying we need 100 nodes right now. And so, but I like to think that the node operators can go to their bond providers and say, hey, listen, we need to increase our fee. So like, there's nothing saying that the node operator fee has to be static. And so the node operators should, I hope, feel comfortable going to their BP, say, listen, I have fixed costs. 10, 15, 20% isn't enough. I need to go to 30%. Like, so if we go from right now, 75% of the fees are going to nodes, and we change it to 50% to nodes, 25% to the pools. That's a reduction of one third of the basically node operators are seeing their cut being cut by 1/3. So if you increase your fee by 1/3, it should offset it. So if you go from 15% to 20% operator fee, you should offset that loss, right? Or it'd be 20% to 26%, I guess, 27%, whatever. And if you're a bond provider listening to this, you guys got to appreciate, like, most of these node operators, like, no one's making any money. Like, they're barely staying alive, like just keeping the lights on at these prices, room price. So you got to be flexible with your node operator to be more realistic and like, the BP, how much money you're getting. Do the math to see how much your node operator is getting. You want him to maintain the servers, own the bare metal, pay attention to Discord, participate in governance, watch the alerts to make pause. You want him to do all this stuff, and he's making $500 a month. Like, come on, bond providers, you got to be a bit more realistic. So if the node operators are worried about so much going to POL because they're going to make less money on their fee, increase your fee. And I don't think it's fair for BPs to push back on that. So that's, and the sooner we get the pools growing, like that I think there's been lots of evidence there that the bigger the pool is, the more volume we have. It's that simple. More volume we have, the more revenue we have. So, the money going to BP is just sitting there doing nothing. It's just being hoarded. We need to get some money into the pools to grow the volume.
I got some real life feedback, Kenton. I was going to say this. So we have a node operator, Devel. He did want to say that he supports POL and he wants the percentage to be as high as possible. So there is some support.
Me too. I'm a node operator. I make money off the node operator fee, right? Like, and even my fund, right? That's the pitch for my fund, is that we get collecting fees for my investors. I'm basically saying, no, I got to take less fees for myself and my investors. But it's the big picture, right? Like, everyone's excited about the burn, and when volume takes off, how much RUNE we could be burning. Well, just imagine if volume takes off, how much POL could grow at
Mhm.
25%. That POL starts growing, man. That could really get things going for us, right? And that increasing the liquidity pools should increase the volume, which increases buy pressure on RUNE to pay the fees. So here we go. Alisorastani,
Alisorastani 8634. You
8634.
can't say the name, Kenton. It's a simple name. I'm over here practicing.
The other thing too is, if the nice thing, we fix it, then it's easy to understand. Going back to a simple machines, simple structures are more stable, more safe. If we get rid of the incentive pendulum, we just have fixed fees going to the nodes, fixed 50%, fixed 25 going to POL. Everything's fixed. Then the network can adjust around that, I think, easier than having the fees variable and the nodes and the pools variable. You have two variables trying to balance each other. It's easier if you have one fixed, then the nodes and pools I think, can adjust more easily around them. So
We do have a question.
yeah.
We have a sort of Max wants to know, what does RUNE price action have to do with node operator revenues? Isn't it not all about volume? I think is the correct way to say that. Maybe I give that to you, Kenton.
Well, if the RUNE price is down, the liquidity pools are down, so we have less volume. So if the RUNE price, if all else being equal, and the RUNE price went, say, to $4, we should see a noticeable increase in volume, which would be a noticeable increase in revenue in dollar terms. So then we would have, because the increase in revenue in dollar terms, node operators are getting more fees from their cut. So this is the one hang up, with the one problem with RUNE being intrinsic to how THORChain works. It has a lot of reflexivity, right? And the RUNE price and how it affects the network. So yeah. Did that answer your question, Max?
Yeah, I think so. Another question. I don't know, Chad, or either one, you can take this. What about burning? Are you going to get rid of it for good now? I actually can't remember. Was this discussed in the recent ADR? I'm so sorry. I'm totally blanking on this.
I don't think so. Not in a recent ADR. Personally, I would rather see it gone and use that 5% for other purposes. That'd be POL or something else. Like I said before, like the burn is not meaningful to change the RUNE price. It's really more of like a psychology hack on the industry as a whole, of like, oh, we buy RUNE because it's deflating because of the burn, blah blah blah. And it's like, it has no meaningful impact on the actual price, especially not right now. Maybe in a bull market where there's a lot more volume and whatnot happening, maybe it have a stronger impact in that scenario. But right now it has very, very, very little impact, and it's just really more of a psychology hack to get people to be interested in having a buying and holding RUNE as an investment strategy, I suppose. I don't care about investment strategies personally. Like, I'm more of a fundamentals kind of person. Like, so I care more about value proposition. That's where my brain goes to. So I rather use that 5% to get the pools deeper, right? With the POL, for example, right?
Can I add on to that? I consider the POL as a form of a burn, because it is RUNE that is being deposited into the pools.
Yeah.
And so I think burn is still on. It's just in a different form, and I think it's in a better form. That's my personal, RUNE that just gets burned, psychologically, yeah, you can make the case that, humans control the market and there's some interplay there, but I really like the idea of RUNE that gets into the pools. It's great. There's reflexivity, to Kenton's point, in the other direction, right? If we put a lot of RUNE into the pools right now at such a cheap price, right, relatively speaking, and RUNE goes up, then we're going to be sucking a lot of exogenous capital into the pools as ARB the RUNE out. And so to me, it's just a no-brainer. Like, let's crank that POL as much as we reasonably can. So I think of the POL as a burn. That's just my opinion. Some people disagree with that.
I could get behind that. Get rid of the burn and go from move 5% burn, make it 30% POL. I could be on board, even though it's going to create all kinds of work for me, you guys. I got to change all the marketing and descriptions and everything about deflation.
Hey, we can leave it at 10 basis points. 10 basis points.
No, I
It's
still have to
1/10 of
well,
1%.
yeah. But at the same time, if the community really wants to keep it, I'm happy to keep it. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna make a big fuss one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Is there any other questions, guys? We're coming on an hour and a half. Thank you, Chad, again for your time. I know you probably have other things you got to do, but maybe
I will say
Go ahead.
if the nodes decide to keep the burn, I will make an effort to go to like Masari, Token Terminal, whatever, and have them create like a deflationary token index. So they have like their dashboards and stuff and their metrics for like, various things. I'll try and get on them to create something for deflationary tokens. So at least it's another way for us to show up and benefit from it. So yeah, that's on my list. Maybe while I'm talking about this too, I really want to get us on Token Terminal, you guys. I don't have the money for it, especially now with revenue drying up, and I don't know what the volume's going to be like. I'm going to wait and see. But that's kind of like the next big purchase I want to make, is getting us on there, and I think would be good for research platforms for the time being. Oh, I want to bring something up. You brought this up to me, Chad.
Before you move on to a new topic, I have one more comment, and then you move on. What's kind of funny if you think about it is that, like, in some ways, RUNE is like a better Bitcoin than Bitcoin. And the reason why, please don't Bitcoin Maxis be blowing up my DMs, or whatever. But just like, let's be objective just for a second. Objectively speaking, Bitcoin is an inflationary asset, right? Yes, it collects fees and transaction fees, but the number of fees that it does per block is considerably lower than the number of Bitcoin that it like emits in a block. And I know Bitcoiners love like, oh, the 21 million max, which technically is actually not 21 million. It's actually slightly less than that, but that's off of technicality. And RUNE, like, it does the same thing as Bitcoin. It's an asset that can be moved from one wallet to another, right? And it's also deflationary. Like, it actually does have a 5% burn. And so, like, even with like the like, if you look at it from an objective perspective, no, it doesn't have the same moat around it that Bitcoin has, and adoption that Bitcoin has, which that's what really gives Bitcoin its value more than it's like, oh, we 21 million tokens and all this kind of stuff. Like, all this, that stuff is like, it's good, but like, it's really not as important as I think a lot of Bitcoiners like think about it. What the value of behind Bitcoin really is its adoption and how many people hold it, and its integration in many different exchanges and ETFs and like all these other various things that make it really valuable. So I'm not saying that RUNE is better than Bitcoin by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm only just saying from a token economics perspective, if you look at the fundamentals, right, of like from the how the token is managed or whatever on a per block basis, it's a better Bitcoin than Bitcoin, right? Objectively so. But that's also true for a lot of tokens. Like XRP is a better Bitcoin than the Bitcoin in some token economics perspectives. Not entirely, but like Bitcoin Cash technically is a better Bitcoin than Bitcoin from a purely technical perspective. I'm not saying that makes Bitcoin Cash better than Bitcoin, but the fact that it has faster block times and all the other things that make it more scalable structurally is mathematically objectively better. But like I said, this value does not come from its own token or its own network. It comes from the apparatus and the moat that's around it more so than the actual asset itself. And it's kind of a funny idea if you think about it.
We won't know who.
Go ahead, Danny.
So we won't know who the winner is until new entrants, and when crypto gets full adoption, because I think a lot of tokens get value because of people is the first thing they hear and they buy, as they don't know. But once the market or crypto market is properly saturated in society in all nations, I think that's when it's no longer going to be a voting machine; it's going to be a weighing machine, and we will see the winners. But go ahead, Kenton.
I say it's not funny, Chad. It's just it's a concept, like value is subjective. And the concept of network effects, like we're just seeing it, play out in a time frame that we can all comprehend. Like the idea that value is objective is wrong, and People value things differently, right? And you can, all three of us can look at Bitcoin and come up with different ways to value it, right? The value is in the eye of the beholder. And, but it's that whole network, that apparatus you mentioned is what gives Bitcoin its value. And for me, this is why have been and still am big in the THORChain, because it's first in its network effects. It's got much better network effects than all its so-called competition. So, people can crap on THORChain and poke holes in it, or this and that, whatever. But the network effects of THORChain is huge. There's a lot of subjective value there. And it's really hard for a new network to overtake an incumbent one. That's why you guys drive on the right side of the road, and the UK drive on the left. Like, those network effects have taken over that it'd be really hard to upset them. So, yeah, it's, yeah.
We had a comment by Boone. He says node operators would have to increase by their fees by 50%, not 33%. Probably because we're having a smaller part of the pie because it's getting allocated to POL, so that income's less. So you'd have to increase it by more. Maybe I'm thinking there might be some there. I don't know, but
Do your
that might
math
be it.
again, Boone. It's you're doing 25
Nerd
divided
fight!
by 50. It's
Nerd
25
fight!
the 25 divided by 75, right? 75% of the fees are going to nodes right now. And if it goes down to 50, so it's a drop of 25%. So 25 divided by 75 is 1/3.
He's gonna join. He's gonna
Unless-
join. It's gonna be a
unless-
nerd fight.
I don't want to get in a nerd fight on this topic. We're like
Unless-
an hour and a half in. It doesn't fucking
I know.
matter if it's 33 or 50. Like, who gives a fuck? Just we don't need to have a 30-minute argument about mathematics.
So funny.
We're gonna lose
Kenton,
our audience.
You had an idea. You were having a topic you were gonna talk to, and then Chad, do you remember?
Oh
what it
yeah.
was?
So a couple weeks ago, Chad, you brought up ChainSpect, a website that has a Nakamoto coefficient, and THORChain isn't on there. So I got in touch with them, talked to them. It's $35,000 a year to have THORChain there.
What?
And then I'm like, okay, sorry, like, we're not on the same page. And he's like, well, we like you guys. We want to have you on the site. What do you like? What do you? Give me an offer. I'm like, you're not going to like my offer.
What's the website again? ChainSpect?
So I said, okay, $3,500 a year. And he's like, oh, I can't do that. But then he comes back to me with $5,000 a year. So I'm like, I don't know.
$5,000.
Yeah, I got down to 5. So, like, even that I feel like is expensive. So, like, just want to, you brought it up, ask the community, like, I've never heard of this website before. If I was flush with cash, I would do it, because I want to get THORChain everywhere. But even for the $5,000 a year, I just kind of want to save it for now. Maybe in a few months, 6 months, I can look back into it. But
We should start like an OnlyFans page, you and I, Kenton. Make that $35,000 so that we can.
Anyway, I bring it up, like, if this is a site you guys think is like really used and popular and we got to be on there, let me know. But for now, I'm just going to pass. And
I'd be curious to I don't even know offhand what it actually is our Satoshi score, whatever it's called.
Well, I think if I read their how they measure it, I think what they'll do is just to look at our node operator addresses and see how many unique node operator addresses there are.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's how they'll measure it.
I used to have a script in my computer somewhere, maybe I still do, that calculates that sort of curiosity.
Because, and then obviously they'll have to have an asterisk, like, one person could have multiple different addresses. So it's not.
Yeah, that's the hard thing to kind of account for.
They can't measure that, but and that's kind of true for all these other everything else they would look at too. How can they prove that they're unique individuals?
Did they include that? Do they mark a Bitcoin mining pool as a single entity? I'm assuming they do.
I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, just to give you like, sometimes I feel bad when I give you guys an update. I'm like, I don't know, I often forget what I've been working on. Just little things like that, and I do look
Polkadot
at.
is number one on their Nakamoto Coefficient. Polkadot? There's no way that's true.
What number do they have? What's the ranking? Share your screen. Share your screen, Chad.
Oh, let me share the screen for you guys here. Let me break it out into a smaller just thing because my screen's really large.
Please minimize the OnlyFans before you share.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Share. Presentation. Screen. Presentation. Nope. Has to do screen. Window. There you go. So this is their most decentralized blockchain by Nakamoto Coefficient. Number one, it's Polkadot with 178. I have a hard time believing that from what I understand about Polkadot, but maybe I'm wrong. That could be my biases. Ton, Avalanche, Cardano, Sui,
It looked
Solana.
better before, Chad. It's pretty small right now. When you're more zoomed in.
Make it smaller like that?
No. Go backwards. The way you had it originally is
Like
easier.
that?
It was bigger.
Darkness.
There you go. Yeah.
Hey.
There you go. Yeah.
Cardano, Sui. It's a huge drop from 178 to 81. That's like a huge gap, and most of these other chains are like 20 or 30. I don't know what this 600. Like I don't know what's going on. I might look into that later just out of curiosity.
Yeah, incomprehensible.
Solana, like I have a hard time believing as well because like almost all, like half the boxes, from what I understand, are running out of like a single data center that like Solana more or less owns or something like this. That's what I thought at least. Like Bitcoin's not even on this list yet. Where's Bitcoin? It's not even in the top 20, according to this.
Oh, there
it is. 4. So this kind of makes some sense to me, just because there are like 3 mining pools, maybe 4 mining pools that could come together and do a 51% attack.
Is that what the coefficient measures? How many nodes you need to operate to compromise the network?
Effectively, yes. You're measuring the like how many individuals you would need to compromise in order to take control of the protocol itself. So Bitcoin is surprisingly further down, but not surprising at the same time. Like this
Where's THORChain?
If you're at THORChain's not even on the list yet.
I have to pay to get on.
You have to pay to get on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm curious. I'm gonna look it up later, or maybe like actually Boone, if you're listening to this, you might be a good person to like check what our coefficient is. Just look at the number of operators we have, unique operators. I know it doesn't account for like an operator that has multiple addresses. There's no way to account for that, unfortunately. But my guess is we would be probably over 10. So we would be in the top 10 if somebody were to do it. I don't know.
I'm thinking we'd be even above Avalanche.
Well, what's really cool is maybe there is a good case to wait, because obviously it's expensive, but we have a lot of new nodes coming online in the not too distant future. So yeah, maybe we can really hit this at a really great score.
Well, so my goal, you guys, is for THORChain to be in all these sites, and there's going to be some that probably just dollar for dollar probably just aren't worth it, but I'm going to do it anyway. And this might be a good example of like, how much are we really going to get out of it? But my reasoning is just to be everywhere, right? So it's like Coca-Cola. Like, what makes it a worldwide brand is they just have their logo. They have Coke everywhere, and so I want to make sure we get to that point with THORChain where it's everywhere. When you go to any one of these sites, THORChain is showing up. And just part of like saturating the market with views. But I don't know that it's really that important priority right now. Like for example, I'd rather on CoinMarketCap, it'll be 10 grand to get the historical price data for TCY. Like I'd kind of rather get that going first. Because because I think people want to see that before they invest. They want to look at the chart. There's no real, like there's this on CoinGecko, but I like to get on CoinMarketCap too.
So they're actually counting, according to this, that it's 33% of a proof of stake network. I was assuming it was like 67% to take control of the network. 33% would just basically mean that you could shut the network down, right? Like I could
Right.
buy enough RUNE for 30, 1/3 plus one of the node operators of THORChain, and then just turn my servers off, and then the whole network would be basically frozen at that point.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be able to sign any transactions, or like the whole thing would just be gone. Obviously, I'd be burning all the RUNE that I bonded with, which would be, millions upon millions of dollars. So I'd be burning millions of dollars to launch that sort of kind of attack. I thought Coefficient was going to be about to take control of the network, not to halt the network.
Can you
So in that
scroll
case,
up just a little bit, please, on your.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, enough power to disrupt consensus. So, okay, so if you had 1/3 plus 1, you can disrupt consensus on THORChain and any other proof of stake blockchain for that matter. But on THORChain, we have a regular churn. So if 1/3 plus 1 of the nodes are disrupting consensus, they would be churned out, or eventually they'd be churned out, right?
Yeah, no. In order to do the attack, you would have to buy enough nodes, get enough nodes in the network as an active validator set, like whatever time that takes.
Yeah.
And then once you got 1/3 plus 1, you would just shut off all your servers.
Because these other proof of stake networks, they don't have a churn. They're just nodes they just come on and off whenever, right?
Yes.
Or they're permissioned.
Okay, so I
Yeah,
just
good point.
calculated it out. Our Nakamoto coefficient is 15.18 under these rules. Now, I know Boone would give me a hard time about this because some operators have more than one address. You know what I mean? So, but I can't account for that. If I could account for that, I would account for that, but I can't do that. So we're 15.8, which means on this list we would be right here. We'd be number 8, basically. So we would be in the top 10.
Cool. And
Which
that's
is
the
not
only
bad.
number going to get better. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that's not bad at all, to be fair, right?
Yeah.
I actually I do encourage people, if you are a node operator, to use the same operator address for each of your nodes. And the reason why that is because it just tells the network that you own all these nodes, and then it spreads these nodes out across all the vaults, which just makes it harder for people to Sybil attack a vault that way. It's safer for the protocol for you to do that, and I've advocated and pushed for this since that change was done like years ago. So I don't know how many nodes actually do that.
Well, wait a second, Chad. Sorry to disrupt you. You're right, and that actually makes THORChain more secure when
Yes.
node operators do that. But if you go back to that Nakamoto definition, wouldn't our coefficient just simply be 1/3 of the active node set?
It wouldn't be 1/3 of the 92 nodes that are currently there, because some operators operate more than one node.
Are they taking that into account though?
They should be. The question isn't so much like 1/3 of nodes. The question is like how many operators could come together and collectively decide to attack the protocol.
Yeah.
And the collective nodes that they control is some number.
Yeah.
And it needs to be 33%. So it's 30. So we have 46 unique operators by operator address currently in the moment. So it'd be 1/3 of that, which is approximately 15.18 right now.
Okay.
It's probably a little bit lower than number, because I said like operators control multiple nodes with different operator addresses. So we're not accounting for that. I don't know how prevalent that is at all. I have no context to that. I don't think it's much, because I tell people specifically to not do that, please. But you can do what the hell you want.
I think one thing that can be said though is that whatever the actual figure is, because there's just some level ambiguity there, THORChain's coefficient number is going in the right direction. Like we are getting better and better and better, and I think that's the important point here. Whatever the actual figure it is,
we could actually build a graph over time of the.
That would be actually pretty good.
No,
that's a good idea.
It wouldn't be hard to do. To actually talk to Ray about
Rayyyk.
that.
Ask Rayyyk to make a dashboard to the Nakamoto coefficient. That's what awesome.
Rayyyk analytics.
Rayyyk is he's the workhorse. He loves. I like to think he loves it when I give him these things to do. But he always seems eager and excited to do it.
This one's funny. Like near right here is at number 9. And that is categorically false. That is absolutely false. Because right now they only have 9 operators. They're counting the number of nodes. Right? Where's this validators, miners? 136? No way. They have 9 validators. They told me this the other day. And all of those validators are like friends with each other.
Is this near intense you talk to? This is near the protocol.
Oh, are they different?
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, near the protocol, near intense. You have near the protocol is like Ethereum, and near intense is like the Uniswap.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there was 2 separate networks. I thought they were one and the same. 106 validators? No way that's correct.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that maybe again, maybe the audience can correct me.
That's near intense. Your dashboard.
We're doing things live over here, guys. We gotta figure it out in real time. You guys are along for the trip. Grab some popcorn. Make sure you buckle up. I think he was saying that same site, Kenton, to answer your question in the thing. I think we were actually on that, but maybe
we were on ChainSpec.
That's how I interpret his comment. Could be wrong. Yeah. Guys, if you have any questions at all, please let me know. Thank you all very much for the community engagement so far. Hope we're doing a good job. I'm going through my list here. I don't see any questions. No, the desert links. We're not essing on near. We're essing on a site we're getting information, but we think we might be incorrect. There could be 2 different protocols, so we don't like to throw shade. We just want accuracy. I mean, we shite on ourselves all the time on the show.
Well, I don't know if it's like
the intellectual access.
Yeah, they're definitely separate. They're definitely distinct.
Okay. Well,
like
whatever it is.
Like I think near protocol it has. No, you know we need familiar Cal. You know we should actually have him on. You can just tell.
Yeah, let's bring Cal. Yeah, he can educate us. That's obviously we're ignorant.
You give it to us, man. You gotta help us out.
Help us out, buddy. Be nice to see him again.
Yeah, but here it's saying it's not even on chain. It's some sort of council, which is similar to Web2 companies, right? And how their coefficient is 9 does not make any sense to me. Anyways,
well, I think
they told me today they have 9 validators. They're trying to get up to 21. And they're not open validators. Like I could become a validator if I wanted to. You have to go through a council or you have to know the handshake or whatever the fuck it is.
Well, I think, Kenton, to your point, you've said this before, one of a layer of frustration is if we get on analytics sites, we want to make sure that information is being reported correctly for all participants on a site, especially if we're going to pay money to be on a site, right? So
yeah,
if there's a lot of ambiguity here with it being accurate, it's probably not even worth to be on the site.
Well, you're exactly right. If we're going to pay to get on, I would expect that the data is accurate. If it's free to get on, then fine. That's the caveat. The data isn't going to be great, but if you're paying, it should be correct. And
why is Ethereum a 1? That's surprising.
I'm trying to remember. I thought there was a centralized entity. This is years ago. I heard this. There's
the Ethereum Foundation, but to my knowledge, they don't have control over the protocol. Like Ethereum, if you were to get like Lido plus Coinbase plus Kraken plus like 4 or 5, maybe 5 or 6 entities to come together, then you could get a 2/3 majority. I guess Ethereum is 1 because Lido controls like 30%. you know, a 37% or something like this. And Lido is a single entity, although you could argue that Lido is not a single entity. Maybe that's the reason why, is because Lido is, because they're not saying 2/3 majority, they're saying 1/3 majority. Interesting.
But even so, like, going back to our Nakamoto coefficient, so it's 15.8. There's two ways we can look at that. These coefficients that we're seeing, they may not be taking into account a single operator having multiple nodes, right? So then it is kind of a like for like that you can't really take into account. Or let's just pretend they have managed to do that. They know exactly all the independent nodes and they've added it all up, right? Those numbers are accurate. Then let's add a safety factor to ours. Let's divide it by 2. And so let's give ourselves an 8 coefficient. On that list, we still show up, I think, around 20, 19 or
Yeah.
something. Like,
If we were in a value of 8, we would be 18.
so even when we add in a huge safety factor, we're still in the top 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're, honestly, I think we're probably in the top 10, if not top 10, top 20.
Which just makes me feel
Easily.
really good. I mean, I really, you know, people look at the total number of node operators in THORChain. They think that's a small number. It's quite powerful. It's quite powerful. And for those who don't know, who are watching the show, you know, THORChain has there's a scalability thing with threshold signature schemes, right? You know, you just can't add nodes to like thousands and thousands. Like THORChain would slow down to probably death. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, but it just doesn't work. So just the unique node operator count is our strongest point. And again, guys, I cannot emphasize how excited I am for the work that's happening behind scenes right now. There are node operators who are going all out to bring as many node operators into THORChain as possible. Just the best form of altruism. I love you, node operators. You know who you are. Thank you so much. I'm not going to reveal, obviously, but it's great. I love seeing it.
Actually, maybe we're not a 15. Come to think of it more, like you'd have to think of, so there's 92 nodes total. You need to get to 1/3 of that, 33%. So that's, you know, basically like 31, whatever the number is, something like this. How many node operators would you need to get to 31? Like how many like is there a single node operator that controls 31 nodes? I don't think so. There would be one in that scenario. So it wouldn't be 15. It would actually be closer to, like, I don't know, 5. Something. I'd have to do a closer look at the code, at the data.
Oh,
Yeah.
like how many, if you have one node operator address with 7 nodes, another address with 5, another address with 12, you get to add all those up.
Yes,
And
and then
then
it becomes 3 at that point,
then it
or
becomes
4 or whatever.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, even with that, we're still in the top 20.
Yeah.
Because
Pretty good.
the 21st is Sonic with 4. So if we can get to 5, which I don't know what we are, but it's probably somewhat
Yeah.
close to that, we're still in
Yeah.
the top 20.
Gotcha.
That probably makes more
And
sense. That probably is the way, because then that would make sense how they're doing Ethereum and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Sorry, Danny.
oh, it's okay. I kind of cut out there, so I'm sorry if I had a weird audio moment there. Son of a bitch, what was I gonna say? Damn it, I'm having a boomer moment right now. For the audience, for those who don't know, it's not like being a node operator is a trivial thing. Very technically complex. I don't know, Chad, would you say that being a node operator on THORChain is probably the most complicated node operating thing probably in any blockchain? I mean, what would be more complex than THORChain? Because we support a variety of layer ones. We're not just a layer one. Maybe, I
Just
don't
like
know.
just operating a node,
Yeah.
you mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, anything that's cross-chain will have the additional complexity, right? Because you have to run full, like, generally speaking, if you want to be a validator on any various chain, you have to run a validator for that individual chain, which is just like one daemon running on one thing, just like, and usually this is like a start. start. It's like it's just kind of like that simple. As long as you have the compute to do it and all that kind of stuff. That's largely how it works. But for THORChain, you can't just run a daemon. You have to run, a dozen daemons, and each of them have their own complexity. And we try to simplify
Yeah.
it as much as we can with node launcher, and we build Kubernetes charts, Helm charts, and this kind of thing to simplify it as much as possible. Like if you wanted to run a node yourself, just to like start it, it's actually not that technically complicated. It gets complicated when you get to the place of like, oh, there's a bug, there's an issue, a pod is restarting, I run out of disk space, I did it like this. That's when it gets complicated. You really have to know Linux pretty well.
Yeah. So just the audience, guys, like, this is super complicated. Like, I'm seeing extremely smart individuals. They're learning to become node operators. And, I do not have these technical credentials. Okay. So a lot of what they say, I simply just do not understand. But there is just so much nuance and so many things they have to consider. And there's a lot of variety of different ways. So if you've got these skills, by all means, if you want to become a node operator in THORChain, we will hook you up. We're gonna have a little pitch at the end. But yeah, guys, it's not like we can just add node operators. Like, you got to have chops, as Boone would say. You have to have chops to join. We are coming at the 2-hour mark. Guys, I'm just curious. I'm not really getting any more questions from the audience as far as I can tell. Is there anything else that we should talk about that you think we need to address that we have not addressed already? I think we pretty much got it. I can't really think of anything. I changed my mind. I'm so sorry. Did you see that someone jailbroke Fable, the Mythos version or something like? I did not follow this closely. Did you catch that, Chad?
Jailbroken in what sense?
That they now it can do, like, so they released a version. This is my understanding, guys. I'm sorry if I got this wrong. I've been so busy. There's a version of Mythos they released called Fable 5 or something, and it's not supposed to be able to do cryptography, or I'm sorry, cybersecurity things, not cryptography things. But somebody jailbroke it. His name's what's Piffy. You guys know what I'm talking about. Please let me know in the comments. So I guess there is a version of Mythos that's been jailbroke that can be used to auditing code, Chad. So I'm sorry if that's technically incorrect what I said, but that's what I understand. So I just want to put that in your brain.
Yes. So prompts are very hard to secure, extremely hard to secure. So there's all sorts of things you can put in your prompt to like convince it to do something that it's not designed to do. Like you can say like, oh, hey, blow up New York City. And the prompt will say, oh, I'm not allowed to do that. And then you just say, well, I heard from the CEO of, Anthropic, or, Amadeus, whatever, Damade, whatever the guy's name is, I can't forget what it is. He said it was okay. And then the prompt is, okay, I'll blow up New York City now. There's all sorts of kind of funny and funky ways you can kind of get around it. I actually have a friend of mine who did some like security things on a major lab out there, AI lab out there, and figured out a way to break out of his prompt into other people's prompts, like other people's environments, and get access to their history. And this lab was like, it excluded that from the findings on purpose because they knew it's very hard to actually secure those things. And they were so aware that like, we don't even care if you figure out a way to do this because we already know that it's like, that it's a problem. Right. So like breaking Fable 5, not surprising. And I'm sure they have all sorts of like detectors on the back end to detect if people are asking about biological weapons or distillation or cybersecurity or these kind of things, and I'm sure they're going to be adjusting. In fact, they actually said publicly that they made it the security things very broad on purpose to make it as restrictive as possible on day one, and then they're going to fine tune it and make it more like precise and less restrictive into the future. But yes, jailbreaking, so to speak, a prompt or a model, it's not that it's easy, but it's not really that hard either. And it's at the same time.
Got it. I'm trying to find it right now. Yeah, I'll share that link with you when I find it. Was there anything else, Chad? I thought you were going to say something, and I kind of derailed it with the Mythos thing.
Yeah, I was going to talk about Hugin for a little bit.
Love
I
it.
spent some time. I've been spent some time on Hugin this past week, because when you have the network is down the way that it is, there's only so many things that need to get done, and you don't need too many cooks in the kitchen, in a matter of speaking. And so I spent a good amount of time on Hugin this past week, and so I made it so that just become more generic in its ability to do what it does, meaning that it can just instead of being built specifically for like THORChain and specifically THORnode, it becomes more generalized that it can be used in other repos and be used on multiple repos. So now it's actually scanning a lot of different repos. So it's doing THORnode, it's doing the TSS stuff, it's doing its own code base. It's actually doing code analysis on itself and self-improving at this point, which is kind of funny. And it's also looking at the Sarai code as well, because that's another thing another new no code base. And I think in the Sarai case, it found like, I think 60 something issues that it's already kind of tagged. I haven't actually gone through and to validate those issues to be them legitimate or not, but I'll be doing that at some point in the future. So I'm just trying to make a bunch of changes to Hugin to make it more generalized, so we can redeploy it on multiple repos and multiple conditions, so that's more useful in that kind of case.
Perfect.
Did you
I love it.
submit those bugs to Luke?
I haven't yet. I want to validate them first, but I don't want to just blindly just throw AI slop at Luke.
I was saying, you become that guy, Chad. Hey, my
Yeah.
IE found all these bugs in your code.
I think my plan is actually to go through them all at some point, or maybe I'll get the security team. They're probably more equipped to go through it than I am. And then the ones we find that are like legit real issues, I'll probably just point my like Claude or Codex or whatever at the original up source and just open PRs, for those issues.
Is this related to Frost TSS, or is this just something else in Sarai? Okay.
Yes, Frost. The Sarai thing is basically the custom Frost implementation for Monero, in a sense. So it found a bunch of things. Again, I haven't even looked at them yet. I need to go do that. But it lists them, almost all of them, as P1s. No P0s, which is good. But a bunch of P1s, mostly P1s. So I have to go through that. But I will be giving it back to Luke at some point when I've actually validated all the claims and patch the patches, and then we'll just reopen PRs on the original code base to do the same patch.
Perfect. Sounds
Hopefully
reasonable.
that'll help mend the relationship with them a little bit. Yeah.
Well, it's customary that in open source code that you fix upstream when you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Was there anything else, Chad, at all? Kenton, I thinking we got her. I do have one thing I'll share in the dead space here. We do have some friends of us. They are going to be going. Now, this is, let me share my screen here. This is Mocha. They are a point of sale application. They're going to be speaking to the Litecoin Summit, but we're also going to have some app layer representation there as well. We might have a certain somebody going there. So just shout out, guys, if you're going to be at the Litecoin Summit, Summit, 22nd, 23rd of June. We're going to have some friendly adjacent individuals there. So if you're a THORChain, make sure you meet up, guys. So someone wanted me to highlight that, and I absolutely am happy to do that. So you love to see it. And for those who don't, Mocha sources almost, a lot of their volume for point of sale from THORChain and my protocol. So you love to see it. So a little shout out there. I'll stop sharing now. Other than that, I don't think I got much else. And if you guys think this is a good time to wrap the show, maybe we should do that.
Yeah, the only thing is, like, I mentioned this in the last call, but I think it's interesting. We were talking about this actually before we jumped onto this podcast about feeless swaps for stables to stables as a loss leader to get more volume on the other assets. And I had a meeting this morning. I'm not going to mention whom, but I had a meeting this morning with another kind of aggregator and they were very excited about this idea. They said that 60 to 80% of their volume comes from stables and stable swaps. So that just gives you more kind of confirmation that this would be an effective way to get more integration partners, and get more people to trade with us directly, and get them to trade on Bitcoin and Ethereum and all the things we do charge on fees for. But it's actually surprisingly difficult or complicated to actually figure out how to do freeless swaps. Like when I first started to think about it, it was like, it seems so simple at the first onset. But as I get deeper and deeper into it, I'm like, oh, it's actually really complicated to do this in a way that doesn't actually be a loss leader, and not a loss leader, but losing money for the protocol rather than gaining it. So I'm going to continue to think about it, and I actually have some ideas. I'm going to throw it by JP to get his ideas as well, to make sure I'm not missing anything in my logic or thinking. But that is something I want to continue to explore for the community, that just to kind of put that at the back of your people's minds.
Love it, man. We're always thinking ahead. That's the thing, is ossification. I've said this before, it's never happening. We're just always going to try and innovate and be better and better and better, and that's the way you got to be. You can never take your finger off innovation. So
Yep.
It's a complex environment.
Yep.
Okay, guys, very good. Kenton, did you have anything else?
No, I think that's good. Yeah.
And I complimented Kenton's hair before the show started. Look how handsome he looks, you guys. I can't grow hair. That's why I have a hat. I could show you my head if you want, but people like aesthetics. So if you guys want a head reveal, let me know. I'm taking donations. So
We'll do a head reveal when we finally make a new hat.
Head reveal. Yeah, we have to hit a metric, and I'll do a head reveal. How about that?
Yeah.
I think there's actually
Turkey. I hear Turkey's got some good procedures out there to help people with less than more hair they want.
Bro, I need the latest in technology too. When I was in the 3rd grade, there was hairs on my pillow. That's how genetically effed I am when it comes to freaking hair loss, you guys. It's unbelievable. So yeah, that's the thing, is it's like your hair goes here and then it just it goes everywhere else. You know what I mean? So I'm getting old, and I'm dying. It is what it is. So what can you do?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's actually,
you guys.
That's actually part of the reason I keep my hair long. So I'm like, well, I've got it, I may as well enjoy it. And so it's part of the reason why I do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, you look beautiful in a platonic way, Kenton. You are.
Thank you.
Look at that white shirt, you guys. He just looks like a trustworthy individual. He is the marketing CEO of THORChain. So we love it. Absolutely awesome. Okay, guys. I think we're gonna wrap it there. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
All right, guys. So, in closing, you guys, if you'd like to become a node operator and need some help, please reach out to @RuneTard on X. He will help you get set up and find bond providers. We'd love to have you guys. For THORChain data and insights, follow @Ray Analytics on X. He does written recaps of these podcasts too. And Ray, we had a little shout out to you earlier about maybe building a little something. So shout out to you, good sir. I know you love this stuff, and we do love you for it. And always remember, you guys, the views expressed are solely of those of the hosts and guests. Any action taken based on this information, it's your own risk. Past performance is not indicative of future results. The THORChain community does not endorse or condone illicit activity of any kind whatsoever. This Saturday, we are going to have Nano GPT. I said it right for the 3rd time in a row, Kenton. I need some props for that. Nano GPT. We love those kids. They are a really cool AI aggregator. I'm so very excited to talk to them, guys. This is a banger team. So you guys, you need to see Saturday's episode. Such a simple idea, but freaking awesome. I love what they're doing. With that being said, guys, we'll see you in a couple days. Hope everyone has a good rest of your week. Catch you then. Bye now.
Bye.